I know some people like this movie. Some people are stupid. I know people are really into this, like really, really into this. So
asking for the gag order and explaining how he's talking too much, threatening to post stuff on public sites. So what I think is, this looks good for Baldoni, right? He's like, we want to make it all public. And sometimes lawyers can do this knowing they can't actually do what they say they're going to.
Good. Beautiful. Where's my wife? Where your wife? Where your wife at? We want to get her.
it turns out that Blake Lively was caught on tape talking about how she manipulates people around her in order to take control of the movies upon which she works. As I've said before, my first advice as a lawyer, all possible clients, don't do criming on tape.
We always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he's like, oh my gosh, if I lost you, I, went to the park with our 3 kids. Think of the late. This is horrible to say. I've got a long, and I was like, oh really? Because I just have on my list. Oh. I don't have anyone on my list.
And then it wasn't funny anymore.
No, wait, who? And I was like,
tell me, he's guessing.
Someone. Bob Newhart, I don't know.
But it does make it look a little suspicious that you are using exactly these tactics against Justin Baldoni, apparently. Oh my God. And then she did exactly that to Justin Baldoni, apparently.
I mean, I internalized that as opportunity. We had such a responsibility to this audience to deliver something and to have the opportunity to deliver something for a passionate group of people.
Yes.
As someone who's so deeply passionate myself, I was so excited about that. I'd so much rather have that than people who are indifferent.
Blasé.
The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail. The majority of things that we're buying are created by men. You always learn more failures than you do your successes. I love creating, and I think that as women, you're not given authorship.
Okay, Ryan, we're starting to see for who you are. What happened? They said Ryan Reynolds, this is the backstory, reviews the daily, reviews the script, and then he goes into his trailer, don't gag or sue me, Ryan Reynolds, I don't want to be involved in all the drama, I'm telling my audience what I was told. He goes into Blake Lively and they have an argument. All of the production has overheard the argument, but we can assume something to do with what he saw in these daily, he read in the script. Who even knows from that day forward, he started involving himself, that he be basically a chaperone for her on set. He was there involved in the projects, wanting to rewrite lines, and suddenly Ryan Reynolds was trying to wrangle this project from Justin Baldoni.
That she became uncomfortable with Justin Baldoni yesterday while she was filming. He states that Mr. Baldoni put his bare hands on her backside and said that he was trying to help her with her posture. Complainant immediately voiced her displeasure being touched on an intimate part of her body, and Mr. Baldoni responded with, "It's fine. I'm totally hot, my wife," in a dismissive.
And then she went and complained about it by attacking him and trying to him, because she apparently was at one point in a room with her, Ryan Reynolds, and Taylor Swift trying to bully Justin.
The Oscars are an annual event that most people around the world look forward to because of the extravagant costumes, heartfelt acceptance speeches, and sense of grandeur that only Hollywood can produce. But this year, a very other story took center stage. It started not with an unexpected win or an envelope slip, but rather with host Conan O'Brien reportedly taking the stage in front of millions of viewers to offer scathing commentary on Blake Lively's ongoing legal crisis. According to the account, Lively had a breakdown that overshadowed the customary pomp and circumstance because she could hardly manage what transpired next. If there is any truth to the rumors, O'Brien's shrewd jabs may have exposed a part of Lively's public persona that few thought could be shattered. According to rumors, O'Brien subtly alluded to Lively and Justin Baldoni's conflict throughout his humorous routine rather than humorous jokes. The comedy was more akin to scathing remarks that, when interpreted, implied Lively might not be as innocent as she pretends. The whole assembly was astonished for a time. Awkward silences here, nervous giggles there. As the camera panned across the glitzy faces of the audience, witnesses say Lively's face flashed with dread. Usually a crowd pleaser, Conan's comedic timing instead created a tension that eclipsed the glamour. However, how could an Oscars comedy monologue turn into such a disaster? According to reports, O'Brien, who is renowned for incorporating pertinent pop culture allusions, chose to draw attention to the circulating allegations regarding Lively's lawsuit as a warning against Hollywood deception. If his intention was to elicit a response, it was successful. As viewers responded to the comments, unsure of whether to laugh or cringe, social media erupted in real time. It was impossible to erase that event from the communal memory after it had been broadcast. The ensuing chaos, whether it was off camera or backstage, has become the subject of instant mythology and has shockingly eclipsed the other Oscars. Both front row and backstage witnesses assert that a particular segment of Conan's opening act was the catalyst for Lively's breakdown. These insiders claim that O'Brien made a quick, scathing digression from his usual course of action, joking that certain legal entanglements are so messy they could serve as the basis for a soap opera. It's called All My Allegations, and it stars Ms. Perfect herself. He didn't initially mention Lively by name, but it was obvious from the cunning looks and subliminal clues who he was referring about. He apparently then made a frank remark on Baldoni's disclosures, wording it so that there was little room for interpretation. His humorous jab was directed at Lively's complaint. It's important to note that comedians frequently use content from high-profile scandals, although Hollywood convention typically forbids making too explicit remarks regarding current.
On the day that both of them had to go to work, meaning Ryan had to go to film, Wayfarer gets that shock mail of demands. Anyways, going back into, he then moves immediately to ask to change their production dates. I would have your line producer's face to my perineum. Perineum is one of the most nervy parts of the human body to expose to trauma. What? Deadpool after party. Ryan went and found a Will Morris endeavor and told executive that they were working with a sexual predator, referring to Justin Baldoni. So we find out that when she starts getting bad press, perfect time for Ryan to manipulate her, in my opinion. I'm going to draft a statement that Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer have to read to save Blaze. Ryan demanded that Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer lie public. So they gave them the opportunity to put a gun to their head and said, this is a statement that we want to read. So this is like why I love this because this is an insight that every read is BS. Sony informed them that there would be a cast-wide boycott if James Heath or Justin Baldoni attended the premiere. I have just been amazed that the cast just like knew that Justin's a good person but went along with this anyway. All of these people who, if you even hire to be like a Hollywood or an actress, you're dealing with someone who probably has some narcissistic tendencies. I'm not saying everyone, but this is why we have these stereotypes.
Lawsuits. If Lively was actually singled out by O'Brien's routine with such precision, it suggests a desire to stir up rumors in front of as many people as possible. Some commentators believe O'Brien went too far, straddling the boundary between public humiliation and humorous teasing. Others commend him for presenting an unvarnished moment of reality, particularly if Lively's complaint merits greater attention. In any case, the immediate effect was to silence large portions of the audience. According to reports, the breakdown itself occurred shortly after the jokes were told. Lively, who is typically skilled at avoiding attention or smiling politely when being scrutinized, seems to have been taken by surprise. Although the official broadcast never showed the meltdown in its entirety, others say they saw her leave her seat and depart presumably to a side corridor or backstage area. Lively's seat was vacant by the time the audience was shown again. Real-time online observers started making assumptions about her whereabouts, with some believing she had left for their usual break, but then the stories of tears and angry voices began to circulate. Conan O'Brien was incredibly successful if his goal was to drive Lively to the brink. On a normal day, the humorous taunts might not have caused a breakdown, but considering Lively's allegedly precarious situation following weeks of controversy,